Hello and welcome to Couple of Instigators. I have got three instigators with me. I have got Sam, Jen, and Margaret. And this is the group. This is it. Stirring up the world one blender at a time. Listen, I like that, okay? That might be our slogan.
Sure.
Stirring up the world one, I don't know. Anyway, how are you guys doing?
Tired.
Good.
Yes, okay. I thought, you know what, today I thought would be a great time for us to just do like a stupid news roundup, stupid, not stupid, whatever. It's been a long time since we've broken down any of the news or personal stories that are amusing. But first of all, for me and Sam, the big story is KC and the Bills played. And we were texting during it, and the game was wild. I don't know how many of you are football fans. I know Margaret probably has no fucking idea. And
no,
Jen,
I do not do sport ball at all.
Yeah, and I'm sure Jen doesn't even know the names of these teams.
Not a clue.
Not a clue. Jen is our go-to for hockey, but none of us watch that. So it's the playoffs, Jen. So this is like, this is getting ready for Super Bowl, which you clearly have heard of.
Yeah. Have you seen the lineup for the halftime show this year?
No, tell me, because I didn't know what it was we were questioning.
Eminem, I think Mary J. Blige, Snoop
Dr.
Dogg,
Dre,
Lamar Kendrick. It's gonna be amazing.
So it's old school rap, kind of. Is Lamar Kendrick old school?
Oh yes, 90s rap, that posse, the West Side Posse, or like West Coast Posse from like back in the 90s. And then it sounds like there's a couple of newer rappers are going to be joining them as well, but it's going to be fun.
Some people at work were like, now that the Bills are totally out, which, I'm upstate, Rochester, way up. I'm pretty much in Buffalo. It's, big Bills country. And, the Bills fans, it's been a rough 25 years, I guess, right? But it hasn't been as bad as it has been for the Cincinnati Bengals, okay? Which I had no idea that they haven't even been in a playoff in like 30 years, Sam. It's like something crazy.
Honestly, I feel like just living in a place that makes you either a Bengals or Bills fan is rough.
Right. You got to give it to us for that alone, right?
Especially the Bills. Like, just existing in that area is tough.
Okay.
I mean, the Bengals are so bad, Marge, that they're a team. Okay. When the playoffs came along and I'm looking at the lineups, I was like, who's playing? And my husband was like, Bengals. And I was like, for just a second, I was like, Bengals. Oh, Cincy, right. I mean, they have been off the radar for so long that I did a double take, like, who?
That was like, I never even heard of it.
Vaguely familiar. It rings
Bengals never heard of them.
I'm sorry, this is the playoffs. What? There's no Bengals in the playoffs. So it was a big moment for them, and a big moment for the Bills. And it's exciting that there was new teams in this year. A lot of underdog wins, which was great.
San Fran was an underdog. They came through. The Bengals were an underdog. They came through. And I had a brain fart. Who is San Francisco playing next week? I know, since he's going to Sam, to Kansas City.
Right. We're doing Bengals. So that would make San Francisco playing.
I mean, we're not huge fans here, but what?
Who's left? Oh my God, I am blanking.
I know. Isn't that crazy? Like, I watched every game too. And I told, who beat Green Bay?
That's what I'm just double checking so I don't sound like a tool.
Yeah. But so the games were very, very exciting. Like, every single playoff game was like down to the end. Tom Brady did not get through. That would be the Tampa Bay. And it looked, they played the Titans, and it looked like, no, not the Titans. Yes! Isn't it the Titans playing San Fran?
The Rams. It's
Rams.
the Rams.
That's it. Rams.
Another team I rarely think about, but yes.
Right. You're right. Yeah. But Tom Brady did not get through, but the game was wild, Margaret, because they were losing by like 27 points, almost like the whole game. Like they were really getting annihilated. Not, but for Tom Brady, that's annihilated. And that motherfucker came back and almost won in the last 3 seconds. He didn't, but he did give it, like, it was crazy. It was total Tom Brady, except for the win.
I just want to talk about what a shit show the Super Bowl itself is probably going to be, since it's in LA.
Yeah.
And LA is quite literally one giant dumpster fire right now.
Yeah. I don't know what it's like around that stadium, but
not great.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I hate to say this, but I've had a few people, ask me, to go out west or whatever, for even like a trip. And there's a social media, like it's an improv / comedy group that I love. I follow them, and the woman who runs it offered me a spot on the show anytime I come. And I want you guys to look out for it. It's called Social Media Meltdown, and she just got picked up for a pilot. So it's amazing.
Oh, I've seen that. I've seen ads for that.
Yeah. So I'm so, you know what I mean? This woman's been working on it for 3 years. Amazing. But I'm just like, I mean, I have no urge to go there. And I've never seen San Francisco, but I have no urge. It's just a lot. Like, I don't know. I look at this just pictures and social media and people like posting about it there, and like Venice Beach, it's like just tent after tent after tent of homeless people in there. It's just,
yeah, it's not, because in August we were out there because we had tickets to an event that got postponed that weren't really sellable, so we went anyway. But we spent as little as possible, because it's just, yeah, it's not great right now.
Weren't you in Palm? What Palm? No.
Yeah, so we flew we were supposed to fly into Palm Springs.
That's it.
Spend a few days there, then just spend the one night in LA, and then head down to San Diego. But our flight got messed up and rerouted, so we ended up flying into LA and then rented a car to drive out to Palm Springs. So we drove all the way through LA, and then the dog, and then drove back in a couple days for our show. And it's it's pretty gross.
and the traffic and just everything. And I mean,
the traffic is beyond. Like, I can't even.
And it's one of those places you have to have a vehicle to get around. Like, there's like the public transportation, like New York City.
Have to have a death wish to use LA public transportation. Absolutely not.
Well,
like, I mean, just wear a hazmat suit if you're going to do that, because someone will throw a turd at you. Like, just.
Yeah.
Ugh.
I was in New York City last week. I had a couple shows there. And, we were walking through the city to the shows, and my daughter was with me, and she, I'm walking, and I was like, I don't know, looking at my phone or whatever. And she's like, Mom, look out, there's puke. Walk around it. Mom, look out, there's that shit on the ground, and that ain't dog shit. I'm like, okay. Then we're crossing the street. I'm like, there's a bloody tampon right in the middle of the street. I'm like, how does,
No.
Yeah. Like,
also, I'm just going to say this, and I would actually be curious for you to do a couple shows out there and see what you think. But we went to 4 different comedy shows while we were out there. And, I go to a lot of comedy shows on the East Coast, both in Florida and in New York and Atlanta, sometimes, like all over the place.
Right.
I thought the crowds in California sucked.
I heard they're a nightmare.
They all had such a stick up their ass, like, weren't laughing at stuff. And I was like, Mike and I were howling at these jokes. And people in the audience all had like a puss on their face and were like, I was just like, oh my God, it was not like East Coast crowds.
That is so insane, because a friend of mine who is a comic in LA, which I'm very excited, she's flying in tomorrow and she's going to be on the show I'm hosting all weekend. But she said that the crowds are a nightmare.
Is it because they're too woke to want to laugh? What is it with West Coast? That's
what I think it was, because any joke that was like, you could find any thread of like offensiveness in it, everyone was like, I'm not laughing at that. And
right.
my Florida ass gave 0 fucks and was just, Mike and I were just cackling.
But
irreverent comedy is funny as long as you're sticking to the rule of the punch up,
right.
Right.
And most comedians do. Then it can be really, really funny,
well, and I wish I could remember some of the jokes now that nobody else was laughing at, but like they did have to do with like race or ethnicity or whatever, but it was the race or ethnicity of the comedian saying it. Like I remember there was an Asian guy in this one show we saw, and then there was a Hispanic girl, but they were making fun of like their own cultures. And I was like, well, you're allowed to do that. So I don't know why you guys aren't laughing.
It's crazy.
Right.
So I don't know, but
Cindy, I agree. Yeah.
Is New York City getting? Because I've heard that with their new mayor, everyone's like, oh, they're a year behind LA now with his policies. It's going to be just as bad. Has it gotten worse since like you and I were there a year ago?
The worst thing about New York City for me right now is just that there's so many mentally ill people on the street. Like that to me is the big problem. And I mean, and not only that, but like crime, they have this thing. It's like it's bail reform, so they don't they don't keep you in jail anymore for no matter what you do.
And honestly, the mentally ill people are what freak me out the most, because if it's like a sane person and he just wants to like steal my purse, like fine, I'll hand him my purse, nobody gets hurt, I'll live, you know what I mean? But the insane people, like you can give them everything and they'll just stab you anyway because they're crazy, you know what I mean? Like,
but they're not even really a lot of them aren't even looking to rob you. Like they're just like attacking people on the street.
Well, that's what I mean. Like there's nothing you can do in that situation. Like you're just out of luck. And they have the like meth head energy and strength, so you're screwed.
The woman in New York last week that got pushed on the subway.
Yes, stuff like that.
Happens
and that's
a
not
lot.
The first time that's happened.
I was there when that happened. So here's the thing. It was an Asian woman, and I think they said that the guy was like a mentally ill guy, and he pushed her.
They're arresting him. He's like laughing and like his tongue out of his mouth, like while the cops are carrying him away. I was reading a thread on it, and there was a ton of people commenting like, "Oh yeah, that's Joe," or whatever his name is. Like one guy was like, yeah, he literally tried to push my girlfriend off the subway. Like the guy is just known to do this. Like
it's very common though there for people, my daughter, who lives in the city, they stand up against the wall until the train comes. They don't go stand by the tracks anymore. They're like, because you can't see behind you all the time. Right. So you need to, you know what I mean? You just have to be super, super aware of everything that's going on around you there.
Because we've been to the city together a couple times now. After I almost stepped in all that human shit, I flat refuse to take the subway anymore. Like I don't care how much money I spend on Ubers and cabs. I am not taking the subway. I'm not doing it.
I know. And a lot of times though, the subway is like so much quicker. And but
it's not worth the literal shit you have to go through.
But the amount of garbage on the street, and it's a lot. And it's even like, in the really expensive areas, there's needles on the ground, there's human feces. Is
this a COVID site?